and welcome to another Round the Rotary podcast. Me, your host, J.P. Warren, and we're doing this in a remote location right now up in Fort Worth, so we don't have the soundboards, but that's what I like. It's raw, it's real, it's street. You know, that's kind of what we're doing today. And before we get kicked off, I got to say that, and honestly, I don't have a script right now. I usually read the first part of this, and so I'm going to try to just wing it. Let me do this right now. Round the Rotary podcast is brought to you by Capital Petroleum Consultants. CPC specializes in project engineering, well site supervision, all disciplines of the oil and gas industry. Contact us through www.capitalpetroleumconsultants.com to see what CPC can do for you today. I just winged it.
You did, and quite honestly, we should have had that on video because you went full singer on it. Closed the eyes.
What I did,
you tapped into the moment.
Yeah, well, I kind of went back to my roots, my acting roots. You know what I mean? I got into the character and started reading that. So anyway, with us joining us today, I'm actually sitting in this badass office, beautiful location in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm with Kyle Wagner, who is a engineer and author of a couple books that actually I've been. That he actually sent my daughter and me, and I posted them on our Instagram account and all that stuff. You know, the O is for oil field, Goodnight Drilling Rig, and he's also has another two other books, Goodnight Combine and V is for Veteran. We're sitting here with again Kyle Wagner, an Aggie, fellow Aggie, who also, and we were talking before this, how small the world is.
Oh yeah. It's I think within about 10 seconds of talking with each other, we immediately figured out
Cole
how
Thompson, Steve McNew, whether you're from or whether it's school, which is kind of cool. And we were talking about that. I mean, that's what's great about the oil field, how small it is.
Yeah, I know you've talked before on some of your podcasts about networking and things like that, but true relationships with groups of people or with a particular person and how far that networking can spread and how quickly it can spread. So, thanks for having me on,
man. I don't know. Let's do. I'm gonna take my mic off and kind of. I'm gonna freehold them.
See, you are gonna go full singer mode.
Why not, man? I think I like this. This is unplugged. This is Round the Rotary unplugged.
Sure. Yeah, it's if I could dim the lighting a little bit for stage, that would be great.
Get some candles. Get
a little dimension to it. Sure,
a couple of hecklers.
Well,
let's do this.
Yeah. I mean, I could just open the door. We got plenty of hecklers just right outside my office. So, yeah. Well, it's family, right? So
let's get this kicked off, man. Like this is the first time you and I are sitting across the table. You sent my daughter and I not only books, your own books, but you also signed it. And my daughter geeked out, loved them, and I actually sent them to Ryan and Michelle Miller, who had their first baby, I think like a week or 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And they got the books and they loved it, and people are chiming in and all that stuff. But before we get in the books, man, why don't you give us a little background on yourself, kind of where you grew up, kind of what you're in, like kind of bring us up to speed to where we're at today.
Sure, yeah. So I was born and raised in Uvalde, Texas, right, west of San Antonio. Grew up there, graduated there. My family still lives there. Ag family,
okay,
mainly. A lot of farming. My dad's fixing to retire from it.
Okay,
so we're pretty psyched about that.
Well, how do you retire from farming?
Well, okay, so he is ag business. I'll say that much. He does chemical fertilizer, all that kind of stuff. So naturally, all my friends, families are farmers. A lot of my friends now are farmers. And then I went black sheep, right? So I went oil and gas, which no one, I guess, saw coming except me.
Was there a lot of support for that, or did your family?
100%. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I am a fourth generation Aggie.
Okay. Oh, okay.
My name's Kyle. Enough said.
I
right?
dig it. Okay.
Okay. So anyway, I from an early age, I was a Lego guy. I was building. I was breaking stuff apart. My mom's favorite story was I took apart a typewriter when I was 4 years old, put it back together, and it ran.
Really?
That's her favorite story.
You know what's interesting though? It's like that's a good point. Like, I'm a Lego guy. Like, I wasn't a Lego kid. I wasn't. I wasn't the engineer. But it's funny. It's like, so my daughter's very into Legos. You know, she loves. Oh, yeah. And by the way, everyone, we'll be talking kids, okay? Because that's what we're doing. That's
for sure.
We'll be talking kids on this podcast. But like, she's a Lego, and I'm thinking, okay, well, like, I wasn't a Lego. I feel like that's kind of like the segue into engineering.
Oh, I think so, 100%. Yeah, it's because it does two things. One, you start off by looking at a set of instructions, building something, realizing that you can do it, and then all of a sudden your creativity kicks in, and then you're building your own stuff.
Yeah.
So it all has a special purpose. But yeah, when I say I got into Legos, I mean it was probably very over the top.
I didn't realize how much. I didn't realize how much of an expensive hobby it was.
Oh, it's horribly expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many reasons. First and foremost, I'm going to do a segue into parenting, but I call my father 2 or 3 times a week just to apologize for everything I did growing up.
Growing up, you think your parents got their shit figured out. You know what I mean? You think they know what they're doing. Like, oh my God, but you realize you're like, wait a minute, I'm a parent now. I don't know what I'm winging it. You know what I mean? I'm acting like I know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. And even more so,
it's the biggest scam out there.
Oh, and then on top of that, you're sitting there thinking like, why, my kids they're both fantastic. We were so blessed with them. And there's sometimes they're going to act like kids.
Oh, yeah.
And so my wife and I'll talk like, why are they doing that? And then if my mom or dad ever hears a conversation, they're like, oh, honey, this is nothing.
You should have seen yourself. Right, don't say that. Don't say that in front of your grandkids. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Remember, I'm the perfect parent. I'm super dad.
Yeah.
So you're taking stuff apart. So you just so this kind of it interests you.
Yeah. So it evolved. Then it became once I got older, it became building stuff with wood. I was building benches. I was building a fort. I was just doing stuff. And so get to high school. I'm like, I'm an Aggie. They have an engineering school. That's awesome. This is fantastic. And all that was left for me at that time was, what am I going to go into?
Okay.
What type of engineering I'm going to go into?
It was definitely going to be engineering.
It was definitely going to be engineering.
Okay.
There was zero doubt about it. And that route for me was pretty simple. I decided in about 5 minutes. I got online, got onto the A&M website, looked up engineering, looked up the salaries, starting salaries of engineers, and at the top was petroleum.
And that,
okay, great.
So that was the motivator right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
what year was this?
That when I decided that was 2000. 2000.
Okay,
yeah,
2000.
2000. Yeah.
Okay.
So I lucked out. I'll be 100% honest. I lucked out because I had no idea what the oil field was like. I had oil fields that were 50 miles from me, never seen a pumping unit, didn't know anything other than they drilled a hole in the ground.
4th generation Aggie, 1st generation oil field.
That's right.
Gotcha.
And I lucked out, got into the school, got scholarships, and first internship I had was with the OG.
Okay.
In New Mexico, in Artesia.
So what was that experience for you? What were you? First off, what were you doing, and what was I guess the shock?
The shock for me, I think, well, quite honestly, the shock for me at first was how much I liked it. Okay. Probably because it was had some to do with the independence from everything and being able to do stuff on my own and whatnot. But I like getting my hands dirty.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to get into something, I'm kind of an all or nothing guy. There really isn't an in between.
You want to know the whole process.
I was gonna know within a week.
Okay.
If I was gonna like this or not, and I loved it.
Okay.
I loved every second of it. So I mean, the first 3 months I was there, drilling, completions, production, a bunch of production. I was on roustabout crews, setting up separators, pig and flow lines, hot oiling, like full meal deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, hell yeah, this is for me.
So sleeves are rolled up, you're getting your hands dirty, and you're digging it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
anyway, I was hooked from there. I just had to get past the scholastic part. Once I got past that and I got a degree, then I was in good shape.
Everyone's get by that. So you graduated. What year did you graduate?
Graduated in 08.
Okay, so you graduated in 08. And we talked. Yeah. We had fellow mutual friends.
Yeah, fellow friends. Hunter Wallace, Nick Brown, Cole. Yeah. So there was that group that graduated in 08. And granted, there was some 07, some 08. My wife was
Hunter was petroleum too, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
I keep forgetting before he was at Atlas Sand that he was actually an old customer of mine. I actually brought him to a couple of events. I keep on forgetting that he was on the operator side at one point earlier in his career.
Yeah, Hunter. So I met my wife in petroleum, and we got married a year after we graduated.
Okay.
And I'll never forget because we invited a bunch of people to the wedding. A lot of them were able to show up, and we're starting to get gifts in. And Hunter, we get this big package, and it just says, like at the top it says from Hunter, and we open it up, and there's a note inside. So he gets this like really nice cutting board. Typical Hunter, and he goes, "Lame. Here's a cutting board."
Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, thanks, Hunter. I'm doing it. It's the wedding present. So wait, so you met your wife at A&M.
Met my wife at A&M.
She's also a petroleum engineer.
Also a petroleum
Okay,
engineer.
okay.
Much smarter than I.
Where is she
Much
from?
smarter. She is from Throckmorton. She is, so she actually grew up in Olney, which is, Olney is northwest of Graham. It's
Okay.
so around south of Wichita Falls.
Okay.
Yeah. So she grew up there. We met at A&M in my very first class.
Really?
Very first class in A&M. Yeah.
Did you ask her for like a pencil or the notes?
No, so I was just trying to fill the situation out. So there's there was a lot of guys around,
All right.
and so I was it was physics class. I was in the back row, and I really want to say it was Nick that was in there. It may have been another one of our buddies, Dane Klein. I really can't remember. But she was, she's a girl in engineering, right?
Yeah.
And so, so I had my eye on her for a while, but regardless, we didn't end up meeting back up until like a year and a half later or something like that. So,
that's
these things work themselves
That's
out.
a slow play, man.
Hey, yeah,
I
yeah.
dig that. I met my wife in 2015 for the first time ever, and then I think 3 years later, that's when she messaged me. It was a long con.
Hey,
that's what
it works
is.
though.
A slow play.
It works.
It all works out.
Yeah.
It always works out.
Yeah.
So met your wife. You're at EOG, and where was she?
She also at EOG.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I made what I would consider the best gamble of my life. They were going to send me down to the Corpus division.
Okay.
EOG. Whenever we were getting offers, she was in the she was in the Fort Worth division.
Okay.
And I could see like the writing on the wall situation of we're young. This is being on opposite sides of Texas is probably not going to work. So as soon as they gave me the offer, I immediately asked for a transfer.
Okay.
And they granted it.
Okay.
And so my story is I just chase her around everywhere.
So y'all been in Fort Worth since graduating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So was this with EOG? It started.
This is with EOG.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were in separate divisions at that time. EOG had, I don't know. We always laugh. We always said there's like 20 different divisions in EOG Fort Worth because they had Johnson County stuff. They had North in Grayson and everything else. Anyway, so we were in separate divisions. We at that point in time, we had been dating about a year and a half or whatnot, and then life kind of came and hit us in the face.
Reality.
Reality hit pretty hard, and she had on her way back from one of her frac jobs, she had a car wreck.
Okay.
And she had to have several surgeries. She had a lot of internal bleeding. They care flighted her, and up until that point in time, there hadn't really been situations where, for lack of a better term, life did hit you in the face.
Right.
I had loved ones that had passed away and stuff, but they were old. For all intents and purposes,
It's never the unexpected tragedies. The unexpected reality moments where it's like, oh shit, life is pretty fragile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The closest thing I'd had, in not to demean it in any way, but the closest thing I had a really good friend of mine in high school. Our senior year, it was a month before he graduated. He passed away in a car accident.
Really?
Yeah. And so when I was driving. I was in Hill County, south of Fort Worth, and I was getting off. A shift, and I called her. I said, "Hey, headed home," and she said, "I just had a car wreck." And I was like, okay, where are you? And she told me she was by Jacksboro. And so by that time I was, 90 miles away.
Okay.
So she says, I got to call you back. And I didn't hear anything.
Can you give me some more information about
this? Yeah,
this?
exactly. So I'm sitting there I'm calling her mom, calling her dad. That's who she had been on the phone with. But at that point in time, you just kind of run through everything, right? The first thing I think is she's talking.
So she's
great.
fine.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I start hooking it out that way. Her mom is with her in the ambulance. They go to Mineral Wells, the hospital there. I get there. She has like a scratch, and I'm like, oh,
Why are you in the hospital
awesome.
this week?
This is great. She'll be released. We go home, and I was there for about 5 minutes, and we're talking with her. She's sitting up, and the doctor, like, literally just comes rushing in. He said, "We're prepping you for flight right now.
Flight?
You have internal bleeding."
Shit.
And so we're like, oh,
okay. Yeah.
then it got real.
Yeah.
but yeah, so she had about 6 months there. That was pretty rough. She had a couple of surgeries. She had to have a spleen taken out.
God.
Yeah, she.
So you're thinking, it's a scratch. I'm talking to her. She's fine. Everything's good. Next
Yeah.
thing you know, it's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Endgame is fortunate for her to be here. There are a lot of people in that situation. You don't get that.
Right.
You don't get that shot. So,
I mean, that is kind of a shock to reality, and one of those things. It's like, you always say cherish the day, tell your loved ones you love them and stuff like that. But I mean, often you take it for granted. It's just they'll be here tomorrow. Life goes on. But I mean, that's one of those humbling moments where it does jolt you. It is like Jesus.
Yeah, and I've always been somewhat of a religious guy. I didn't go to church very often growing up, but I did, and there was a lot of I've made up more than my fair share of prayers during that time. So anyway, obviously the rest is history. So she's here.
So she's here. She's recovered, and she's mother to 2 beautiful children.
Yes, yeah, she is. Our daughter Davis.
How old are your children?
8 and just turned 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so Davis turned 8 in December, and Conrad, our son, turned 5 on the 18th.
Okay,
of February.
all right.
Yeah,
all right.
So we are fantastic at cloning. I mean, we are great at cloning. My daughter, I only have old pictures, but yeah, that one right there in the dad frame, that is my
baby.
daughter. And she's not a baby anymore. My goodness, they sprout quick, don't they?
Isn't it funny? They get to a certain age and they just start messing with you.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's
like,
just crazy.
Yeah, people are like, how's Evelyn? I'm like, all she does is fun. Like, so I dropped her when she was a kid. All right, I dropped her when she was like 8 months old. Okay, because of a cockroach. All right, I hate cockroaches. All right,
Fair enough.
Here around the Rotary, I'm gonna tell you, I hate cockroaches.
Hey.
All right, to the point where like I strapped her in, I put her up there, and like a cockroach flew at me, and I dropped her. Right, and got to the hospital, and the doctor's like, oh, yeah, these things are made to be thrown at 4 feet, running away from tigers, like, kid's fine, whatever, and all this stuff. And so, like, I told Evelyn the story, and she thinks it's the funniest thing ever. She's like, Dad, you scared of cockroaches? Oh, ooh. And so, like, for Christmas, like, she comes to me, and she has this box, and she's like, Dad, like, this means a lot to me. I want you to have this, like, this, can you open this in front of me? Like, this means a lot to me. I was like, oh, Evelyn's sure. And I'm thinking it's going to be this sweet little whatever necklace or like a piece of jewel, whatever, a painting, a rock, whatever. I open it up. It's a box of cockroaches. She's like, got you. Like, I'm like, where'd you get this humor?
Now, hold on. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, does that come from you or does that come from your wife?
Oh, I think it's both of us.
Yeah.
I think it's both of us. I gotta give her credit, but yeah, she's a little, just a little clone, just as you said. Yeah, but it's funny, they get to a certain age where it's like you're not really like watching out for them. Then they turn the age where they're like there's little people and they're just mess with you. You know what I mean? That's all they do. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, they completely turn on you.
Yeah, it's funny.
I mean, but it's awesome.
It's hilarious
in a good way, because that's about the time that they start learning, like, okay, Dad can play back.
Yeah, I know.
Dad can play back.
Dad doesn't have it figured out. Dad does not have it figured out. So you're out at EOG, and so how do we get to where we're at today?
Okay, so
I love these tangents, by the way, but I want to get to I want to get to the closing point. Then let's get into the tangents.
All right, so we can shorten it pretty quick. So Cy recovered.
Okay.
Took quite a bit of time off, obviously, because she had to. Then she, at that point, realized that she didn't really want to go the corporate route like she had originally planned. Her, in her mind, when she was growing up, she had seen her mom and dad. They've been in the oil business, farming, etc., farming and ranching, and they had kind of built everything for themselves. And she, at that point in time, had kind of figured that she wanted to go. She wanted to go the larger corporation route and climb the ladder and shoot for CEO and stuff like that. And she just realized she didn't want to. She wanted to grow the family business.
What age did she realize that?
That she wanted to go the corporate route, or that she wanted to switch gears?
She didn't want to go the corporate route.
After her wreck.
Really?
Yeah, it was after her wreck. And for her, she always told me it's one of those situations where you have your life flash in front of you, and then you figure out what you really want. And at that time, I'll be honest, I proposed to her 4 months after she was fully recovered.
Okay.
Like that was, I was like, I almost lost you once, and we're done here.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, I'm sure that was very tough for you as well. I mean, just kind of going through the healing process, the recovery process. I'm sure that was kind of.
You never want to see anyone you love hurt.
Right.
No one does. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
And so that was really tough. But it shows you what a new kind of strength is too, getting through some of that, and watching her get through some of that and whatnot. She had a lot of physical therapy, and it was tough.
I think whenever you go through a tragedy like that, there's a couple roads you can do. Either you can grow apart, you know what I mean, because you're dealing with it internally, or you grow together. Sure. Through tragedy. That's great to hear that you're by her side, and she made a full recovery as she could.
Yeah. Obviously, as we were just talking about, there are some stipulations that come with not having a spleen.
Right.
But anyway. So we're getting dark. Like it's
okay.
We're fixing to climb. We're going to come uphill. I promise you. This is good stuff.
You know what? You gotta go through the darkness to appreciate the light. That's what we're doing around it. This is peeling the layers, buddy.
I know. It's just like an onion. Just gotta get to the.
Who's one of those famous interviewers that make people always cry? Who is Barbara Walters or something like that? Whatever it is. Yeah. That's what we're doing.
I got the box of tissues.
That's
over there.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
So proposed 4 months after.
Yeah.
Where'd y'all get married?
We got married here, downtown Fort Worth.
By the way, I love Fort Worth. I don't think Fort Worth gets enough street cred. I think this is one of the coolest cities out there. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't visit here enough.
I love it, and I loved it when I moved here. I literally, when I asked for the transfer, I've been here one time,
really,
ever, and so and then when I got here, got apartments that are just right across the road, so I was right by downtown.
Yeah.
Downtown's phenomenal, but the whole city is.
Yeah.
There's just everything about it. You got North Side. We have a huge food scene now. Magnolia Street, closer to the South Side, down Camp Bowie. I mean, there's all kinds of amazing restaurants.
You have one of the most beautiful. Del Frisco's here is one of the most beautiful restaurants I've ever been to. I kind of feel like whenever you walk in there, you should pull a 6-shooter and shoot someone from the balcony and they fall down. It's legit straight out of Hollywood.
Yeah,
it's such a cool. It's a great bar area.
Yeah. It is. It's and obviously downtown, by virtue of who we have in the city, is kept up extremely well. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Sundance Square. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's a very walkable city.
It's extremely walkable city. Yeah, and
very Euro, if you will. It's a very Texas Euro.
I was going to say for being Fort Worth and where the West begins, we have a lot of it's a different vibe than I think what most people think.
You don't expect it. You don't expect it. So tell me. So she changed. So her career path. Her career path shifted.
She shifted. She decided she wanted to help grow the family business.
And what was the family business?
Family oil and gas, farming, ranching. Her big deal was oil and gas. She wanted to grow the oil and gas business. And that was kind of their prerogative. And by they, it's my father-in-law and her.
Okay.
And my mother-in-law, and so they started growing, hiring more people, and then it came about 2012. I was still with EOG.
Okay.
And I felt like at that point in time I had a choice. Usually within EOG, and this doesn't go for everybody, but usually they want you to start moving around some, go into different divisions, get more experience, exactly, and do some different things, a different kind of cross training.
So this is 4 years at EOG.
This is 4 years at EOG.
Okay.
And they were wanting me to move. They had suggested I move to San Antonio, which was going to be a great opportunity for me on several facets. But I also kind of looked at it from the entrepreneurial side of, I can also help them grow faster.
Yeah.
Just by virtue of what I've done.
Did you like that big corporate feel starting out? Because when I started off in the oil field, it was my career. It was at Noble Drilling, which is a large company.
Sure.
Then I went to Archer, which is a larger company, and then I went to Pinergy. Then now I'm at CPC. It's like I've gone down in the scales. I have more fun, and don't get me wrong, I love all my the previous experiences in my company, but I have more fun at a smaller company where you're you wear many different hats and you kind of have the strategic decision making.
And that was the key.
Yeah.
That was it. I felt like eventually I could get there the same way that Cy did. Cy felt like eventually she could get there, but it would be years and years in the making.
Yeah.
and there was an opportunity for me to join Cooper and do the same thing now.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
So you've been over here for how long?
So I've been here since 2012. So this will be my ninth year.
Yeah. I know, isn't that crazy? It's crazy.
Yeah. And I will be honest, the other driving factor to that was right around the same time they were asking me to go, Cy found out she was pregnant.
Okay.
And so then it was like, okay, this is deal. So yeah, so like I said, I still have family in Uvalde, so San Antonio would be more of a midpoint and stuff. But it's like you said, Fort Worth is awesome. Love Fort Worth. We're around her family, and so just made the choice to stay here.
Was that a big choice for you? I guess.
Well, I know for me it was because, again, my family and what my parents did was always working for someone else. I learned all my work ethic from my mom and dad,
right?
And loyalty and sticking with it, and not talking too much and working more, and keep your feet moving and stuff like that. And so my intention was always climbing a ladder.
Yeah,
but
being a loyal employee. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, I also I always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay,
I always wanted to do that. And my problem was I didn't know what. And so I always did little things. I started like a lawn mowing company. I took pictures. I had photos, cameras and lights and stuff right there.
Yeah.
I went to rodeos when I was in 5th grade and took pictures and sold them.
Really?
And stuff like that to make money.
Okay.
And so I just always felt like I wanted to work for myself or for a family in some capacity.
Okay.
And
this was the opportunity.
This was the opportunity, yeah. So it just, there were a lot of things that fell in line at the same time, but I also knew that once I went, like there really isn't any going back. Right. So that part was a big decision. I regret absolutely nothing because we've had a lot of really good success. I'd say the biggest challenge is that you're working with family.
I was going to say, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, is there, I mean, some people can do it. Some people are great at compete. So other people, they separate it. Like once they walk in the doors, they go to business mode. Like you are now a colleague, not my wife, or vice versa. So how is that working with family?
It's an ebb and flow. And I think, I think anyone that is very strict in how they navigate that I would at some point in time is doomed to fail with it. Right. Not necessarily from the company sense, but on the relationship side of it. Is you can't
you can't
turn it off, and you can't always turn it on either.
Yeah.
Right. So we always laugh because we say, our conference table is the dinner table, and the dinner table is the conference table. It just happens. But when you have a group of people that is like-minded and has similar goals, then it all ends up working out in the end, regardless of if you're family or not. It's all about a team. The cool part about the family is you already have a built-in team. Right?
Yeah.
We're fortunate enough that the team that we have, at least on the executive side, our work strengths and what we've done in our careers really mesh well.
Okay.
So Cy does a lot of the geophysical, drilling, regulatory, accounting. She wears the most hats in the office, bar none.
But you kind of have to do that though if you're working at a smaller company.
Yeah. I mean, you look at our cards. I mean, really, I say engineering on mine. You can probably just scratch that because at any point in time, I make an excellent pot of coffee. Oh. I clean extremely well. Well, at least until my kids come, and then it's kids.
Do the kids come to the office a lot?
Oh yeah,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, that's like the biggest perk.
Oh man,
because if we were to be in a situation where we couldn't have the kids come to the office, there'd be so many hours that would be, I wouldn't say lost. It's just, I mean, you know how it is with kids. You're traveling all the time. You are just taking them to school and coming back, and then they forgot their lunchbox, and then you're tracking it back, and then you're talking about 2 or 3 hours in a day that can get chopped off relatively quickly. But here we set them up with like a small space. They have a computer if they need it. And they can operate a computer. Do you remember growing? When did you become familiar with the computer?
1998, 99.
Yeah.
Whenever I got a Hotmail account.
Yeah, it's like Gateway.
Yeah.
You remember it was called Gateway
Yeah.
2000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember we had Microsoft Golf.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever remember that game, but it's that's the computer game. That was like the pinnacle of the computer games on a Gateway 2000 computer. And I was, I guess it was 96 or 97 is when I remember that happening. And my daughter is 8, and she's been working on a computer since she was like 5. And she knows the ins and outs of it.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. Kids these days, how quickly they pick that stuff up.
And that's the thing about parenting. Like, there's a balance too. It's like, oh, don't give them too much screen time. But it's like, well, they also, I agree with that, but it needs to be productive screen time. They need to learn how to use it, how to use keyboards and type and all that stuff. They can't just be vegging out. But that's so great that you can bring your kids up here. Because I remember, you remember. Well, you might not because, but I remember my dad bringing me to his office, you know what I mean? And it was like, I was like, oh my God, I get pens, and like, it was the coolest experience ever. So we'll go to the office now, and our office is like a little bungalow in the Heights, and like, Evelyn goes there, geeks out. She loves going to Daddy's office. Yeah. I mean, it's great to be able to mesh those because they shouldn't be separate.
They shouldn't be, and I think the part that I like about it the best is, and I'm right with you. Like I drove around with my dad in his pickup truck when he was going to check fields and stuff like that. So I got the gist of what was going on, but that I carried that throughout my life. When I was younger, it was from the perspective of here's what I don't want to do when I grow up. But now I look back on it, and I do so with pride and respect of like. That's hard work.
Yeah.
Like you go out there every day and you're doing it and you're helping people and all this stuff, and it leaves a huge impression on your kids. Maybe not immediately. Sometimes immediately. You would hope it would be immediately, but a lot of it is the mid and long term effects of that.
It's something that they're going to register with later in life.
Exactly. Yeah. And so our kids, we do our absolute best. Fail plenty. Yeah. But we do our absolute best for them to understand what it's like to work and what it's like to work for yourself and build and lead a team. And they see how we interact with people. And I
think that's huge. When they observe you, how you treat people and interact with people, whether it's your teammates at the office or whether it's people, bagging your groceries, like that to me, or waitress, people that serve you, that to me is huge.
Yeah. I mean, respect is huge in our household, and it's a respect for everyone.
Yeah.
It is. It's something that personally I feel is not thought about enough nowadays. And that's in so many different facets.
That's kind of the only time like I get on Evelyn's ass when it's like, hey, look, that was very disrespect. Like it's a respect thing. It's like I treat you with respect. I expect you to treat me with respect.
Yep. And it doesn't. And we hammer home. It doesn't matter what a person does, how they sound, what they look like, where they're from. Everybody is human.
Yep.
Period. And everyone deserves that respect. But even more so, what we want to teach them is we want you to understand what that person does, who they are, who they might be, any of those kinds of things, so that they can gain a respect for that person. I have, it's one of those deals like once you do it for yourself, and you learn more about it, and then you have a totally new respect for it every time you try something new. And so we try to expose our kids to that as much as possible. And so it's just because I feel like it's something that's just not talked about enough in this world. So
well, it's easy to get online, get on these social media platforms, get on whatever, and see the amount of disrespect and how it's kind of okay to do that these days. It's okay to judge someone on this or what they believe, what they feel, so it's very easy these days. So I think the whole respect and understanding where people are from, their situation. If someone's rude to you, the chances are they're probably having a bad day. Chances are something's going on in their life where they are struggling, and they're not being a dick just to be a dick. Something's going on with them.
Yeah. And like I was saying, we're fortunate. We were so blessed to have our kids, just to have them, one, period, but two, that they understand some of these things at a certain age. I would love to say it's something that my wife and I have done, but I think a lot of it is just them. And them being able to pick up some things. My daughter has had medical issues. And I think and my son has seen some of those medical issues and how she has struggled with it. And I think they understand and they can correlate someone who struggles, and understanding that not everything is perfect, and
that's important. I think that is an extremely important message to communicate. Not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything's going to be fair. Not everything's going to be, but you have to show compassion and respect.
Yeah, and you have to understand failure.
Yeah, you
have to understand failure. I think there's a lot of kids they don't see failure a lot. They don't understand, and that changes a lot of things. That changes people's drive. That changes how they feel about certain situations, whether they do or don't want to do something, how they respect somebody else.
Well, you don't teach failure. You know what I mean? Everyone teaches their kids how to win or do this or there's you don't teach failure. You don't teach, hey, look, like it's okay to lose, and how are you gonna handle that? How are you gonna respond to that?
Yeah. You
know, that's more important than winning, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But it's hard, right? Especially as a parent. When do you start that? When does that happen? Where's the breakover point of they're riding their bike and they fall off a bunch, and you pick them up and you're cheering them on. You're like, hey, it's going to be okay. We'll get that bandaged or whatever else. And then there's just almost this breakover point of like, you look them in the eye and you're like, you can do this. You got this. Yes, you failed. And you get up and you go again. I mean, it seems like it's the same thing, but there's a breakover point at that point in time of how you treat your children.
Yeah.
And once they're able to do more, then it becomes more of a learning from failure.
You see I mean, that's why I beat Evelyn every time we play Mario Kart. Every single time I beat her. I don't let her win. You know, this. First off,
no,
I don't let her win. Okay,
Yeah.
She needs to learn. Hey, if you come sit on the couch and play with Daddy, you're gonna lose.
If you get the red tortoiseshell, it's over.
It's don't. Yeah, exactly. It's over. You got the bullet. That's great. I got the tortoiseshell. So here's the deal. You're gonna lose. How are you gonna respond to that? You know.
Yeah.
I think you start there. You start with Mario Kart. You gotta.
That's a good point.
That's dabbling your toe in the water and then pushing them off the bike. That's the second step.
Yeah. Or just the spokes. Stick something in the spokes.
As a joke.
It's
it's funny.
Check your neighbors first.
Well, dude, I want to get on the books that you've done, because the books that so I reached out to Kyle because I forget how. I think I saw a post on LinkedIn about a book or something, so on this podcast, I love talking about our industry. I love, because that's the reason this podcast started. We got so many cool people in this industry, so many interesting stories, and I love hearing about everyone's stories, you know. And I love communicating our industries to people, about our industry, to people that aren't in our industry, you know, because I think that's we need more of this, I feel like. And then I see this post that you have, and it's O is for Oilfield, these children's books, and Goodnight Drilling Rig. And I reached out to you, and you sent my daughter a signed copy, and she just geeked out over that. And so I want to kind of get into this because, the books, I mean, I gifted them to a couple people. I think they make great baby gifts and all that stuff. So if everyone's listening, and we'll talk about how to, obviously link this and all that stuff.
Shameless plugs are totally part of my gig.
This is all, this what I want to shameless plug the books now, because the books also, it's going to work. You take it for granted, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what this is. I know what this is. But our children don't. You know what I mean? And so I think what you're doing right now with the books that you're creating and all that stuff, what you're doing, you're allowing to have conversations at your homes. You know what I mean, with the children. Because my daughter's like, oh, what's this? I'm like, oh, that's. Oh, I didn't even know you didn't know what that was. I've been dealing with this for 15 years. I know it. So the conversations you're allowing to have with families, and I can take a personal experience from my household and all that stuff. I mean, that's something that Evelyn can go to school and start telling her friends about, and telling her, they're like. So it's kind of creating a better understanding. So tell me about you. First off, how did the book thing come about, and just kind of tell me this story.
Yeah. Okay. So my kids, my wife and I are addicted to buying our kids books. We love buying them books because from an early age, they just were fascinated with the pictures and everything else. So it's been part of our routine ever since Davis was born. And anyway, so Davis, our daughter, was, like I said before, they come to work. She's come with me out to the field when I'm having to go do some of the stuff out there. Now she has her own well named after her, the Baby Davis 1H.
That is cute.
Look it up in Throckmorton, and her and I took a picture of it by the sign and everything. So she's very much been into it, and so when Conrad came around, obviously 2 kids, hard to juggle both and whatnot. And he was able to go out to the field with me some, and he knew exactly what I did. And he's very much like me, engineering minded. Like, he likes building, he likes doing all this stuff. And about almost 2 years ago now, he said, "Daddy, can we get one with the pumping jack?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll find a book with the pumping, no problem."
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look it up, and I couldn't find a single one.
Really?
And so, and it kind of got me thinking. I'm like, of all the things in the world, right? Kids are a product of what they see, what they hear. They're a product of their environment. And everything you hear nowadays is that it's bad. Yeah. And so if they hear that, they're naturally going to think it's bad unless there's something else about it. And I'm not saying it from the point of doing a counterpoint. I just wanted to make sure that my children and anyone who wanted to read the books at least understood the mechanics behind what they were talking about. Just the basic stuff.
Look, you can have an opinion. You're human. You can have an opinion. But before you make an opinion, at least know a little bit about it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And so that was like the adult thinking of part of it. And the second part just went right back to the kids. Like, why don't we have these books?
Yeah.
Like, these can be actually pretty cool books. So I started just putting together some photos and stuff that I had taken, like with Davis and I, and kind of trying to build an alphabet book. And really, O is for Oilfield was the first one that I started.
Book.
That was the one I started putting together first.
Okay.
And anyway, I had taken Conrad with me out to Throckmorton, and we were looking at a couple of wells, and I had. And we were drilling a well at that time, and I had we pulled up to the rig, and I had taken a picture of sunset in the background and all this stuff. And I was like, that's really awesome. And so we were checking in on the well. We were leaving, and I said, well, say goodnight. He said, "Good night, drilling rig." And I was like, there it is.
That's it. Good
Perfect.
night, moon.
That's how I'm going to do it. So I put that book together, the basis of it. I put it together in about 3 days.
Okay.
And I actually have the first copy I did. Once I had put the book together and I had the photos, that's when I started realizing, like, I don't want it to just be photos. I'll mess with the illustration some and whatnot. And I put together the first Goodnight Drilling Rig book from those images I'd created. I sent it to Walgreens to print a photo book.
Okay.
So that I could just, because I was just going to do like one copy, right?
For your house.
Yeah, just for the house. And so I did it, and the kids loved it. And Davis was starting to read at that point in time. So she would start reading it to Conrad, and I took videos of them reading it. And I sent it out to some friends. I sent it to family and whatnot. And I had a couple of friends say, "Send me the book.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta do this." And I was like, well, okay, well, maybe I'll clean it up, and it won't be like that where it's literally glued on pages to a board book deal, but I'll see what I can do. This was right around the time COVID started picking up.
Wait a minute. So this is like kind of a new project you've been doing.
This is a real new, yeah. So I had actually worked on the book for about both of the books for about 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
All right. And just when I got to the point where I'd finished Goodnight Drilling Rig was when COVID started really kicking up and happening and whatnot. And then everyone remembers March, April, just
those 6 months after March are pretty much one long Zoom happy hour, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're stuck at the house.
Yeah, and people were losing jobs right and left.
It was miserable.
It was horrible. And
God, I forgot about that.
And so that's what really started getting my brain going, like, okay, I'm fortunate enough we work for ourselves. We mind our P's and Q's. Like,
yeah.
We'll be okay. But there are a lot of people that aren't.
Right.
And being on LinkedIn and Facebook and seeing these posts of just right and left people losing jobs. And
one after the other.
One hit me in particular saying, I bless God every day that I'm here. I'm just going to look after my family, look after my kids, and strive hard to keep working. And I was like, the kids are going to be hit hard.
Yeah.
Like people losing jobs and losing livelihoods.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. These are the things kids see, and they may not get gifts. They may not be able to buy much of anything. And so I thought, what if I can go to some of these companies, obviously our company, but I can go to some other companies and say, hey, what if we bought some of these books, potentially send some out, and then maybe raise some money for charity while we're at it.
Okay.
And that's how I got turned on to Oilfield Helping Hands.
So everyone in the industry, I feel like they know the OHH, the fishing tournament, they know this, da-da-da. Can you give me a brief kind of an elevator summary on what OHH is and why it's such a great cause?
Yeah, first of all, fantastic organization. I'd be lying if I can give you the exact date. I wanted to say they started in 2003. It may have been earlier than that, but I believe that's when they had started picking up. But what OHH does is they support oilfield families who are having difficulties medically, financially, et cetera, through no fault of their own.
Right.
And so they've raised a lot of money. A lot of what they do is financial assistance, grants, things like that for people who. One that you see a lot is medical undertakings and things like that. But obviously, when this situation started rolling around in April and May, and people losing a bunch of jobs, that was something this industry on a mass scale hasn't seen in a long time, just because employment within the industry had gotten so high.
Well, I mean, you got to think about this too. I mean, you're sitting here in March and April, and you're seeing after 34 years, got let go. After 2 years, let go. Everyone's getting let go. But the thing is, though, it was a time too, and we're still not out of the time.
No,
it's not like they can go down the street and get a job in a different industry or something like that, because every industry was hit hard.
That's right.
So if they got let go, I mean, it was dire. It was dire straits. It was a tough time.
Yeah, and so just from a 30,000 foot view, that's what OHH does.
So OHH. So did you reach out to them, or how did this?
So I reached out to Katie Grimes, who's the president of the Permian chapter.
Yeah.
And I just said, hey, I have this idea. I've made this book. It's kind of ready to go. And by that time, I'd cleaned it up. I'd been looking for printer and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like 100 copies or something. And
Pumperdoodle?
Punkendoodle.
Punkendoodle.
Yeah, Punkendoodle is actually mine.
Is it really?
Believe it or not, yeah.
First off,
okay. So I got to tell every time I say Punkendoodle, people are like, "Where'd you get the name?" Okay, right. All right. So my daughter's nickname that she had since she was a baby was Punkendoodle.
That's
all right.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. And the great part about this is this is recorded, and I can say this, and so I'm going to play it back for her and really just embarrass the snot out of her. It's going to be fantastic. So she.
That's our
she
job
is
as dads to
100%. Yeah. I mean, between embarrassment and dad jokes.
Yeah.
Right up there. And then my son, we call him Bear Duger.
Okay.
Which is we don't call him that very often because he gives me the face, But we call him that because I have a teddy bear that's supposed to resemble me, and since he's a clone, he's the second, so we did that. And when I was coming up, when I had already started developing the books and stuff, I decided that the easiest way to handle the donation and charity portion, I was like, well, I'll just make a separate entity, and I'm going to call it Punkendoodle, and I don't really care.
So you got in contact with Katie.
Yeah, so I got in contact with Katie.
Yeah.
Sent her kind of the electronic copy of it, and she was all over it. Katie's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's done amazing things for that chapter and for the organization as a whole, and she's just a go-getter anyway.
Yeah.
And so one thing led to another. Started talking to the vice chair and chair of OHH, and we kind of came to an agreement on how we would work it out. But essentially, every copy sold, we're going to have a portion of that donated to OHH.
Okay.
And on top of that, I also started putting together a drive for actually people donating books at a discounted rate.
Okay.
And so, in any form or fashion, any copy of Goodnight Drilling Rig or O is for Oilfield that's sold, financial assistance, money goes to OHH so they can continue to support the financial end of what they were doing, and then was also giving them books for them to be able to distribute to families, any family that needed assistance, that had lost jobs, libraries, schools, things like that, just to spread the word. And even both Katie and I were thinking like this, we'll get a little.
Man, I was gonna say, I feel like the reception is kind of. I mean, tell me about that.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Oh, really overwhelming. I was not prepared for that whatsoever. No, I just, it's just one of those things. Whenever you create something, you never think like, oh, this is going viral. This is happening like right now. And maybe that's just the pessimist in me. I've always felt like I'm optimistic, but the pessimist in me is like, don't get ahead of yourself.
It's also a reality check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a reality check. Yeah. You don't think it's not that, but the books are awesome.
Thank you.
The books are awesome. So the reception has been very overwhelming, which is great to hear.
Yeah. It's been phenomenal. We've raised a bunch of money for OHH, a lot of donated copies of books that have been able to be distributed. And
how are you getting the word out about the books?
Okay, so it's literally social media and word of mouth.
Okay,
and that's it.
I'm not. Look, hey, this is Round the Rotary remote. We're good. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
I was actually just trying to figure out what it was.
Don't worry about that thing. Let's just keep it going.
But yeah. So anyway, the that was it. That was the whole premise behind it was those two things. And I started reaching out to some stores about doing wholesale stuff and just kind of having them understand, what we're trying to do is support these charities by doing this. And I had a lot of positive response there, and it's just taken off. It's been something else.
So you have Goodnight Drilling Rig, you have O's for Oil Field, and I'm guessing from your past and your passions and what you grew up with, we have Goodnight Combine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So Goodnight Combine is ag based, farming and ranching of all sorts. Yeah. And so that one is really just going back to my roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really, really fun to make because I was sitting there digging up old pictures of from like 20 years ago.
Really?
And that's the cool part about the way that I do.
And you do the art, and so I don't think we're recording. You do the art as well for these.
Yeah, we do the art, and I do the art. And what I do is it's a mix. There's sometimes I'll draw, paint, chalk, whatever. On Photoshop essentially, and then there's others I will take pictures, modify, mix and match.
You kind of mess with the filters.
Basically, I have an idea of what I want it to look like, and then I take all the pieces of all these different photos and figure out how to make it work.
And so your latest one is V is for Veteran.
Yeah,
talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so V is for Veteran. This one, it's going to start going on sale for shipping in March. And
this year's been okay. We're in February now. Okay.
Oh, I know.
I'm telling you, man.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
It feels like it was December just a couple days ago.
All right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, did we tell you about Snowmageddon?
So, but I feel like that was a year ago. So wait. So pretty much this is going to be released. So we're going to be releasing this podcast probably in March, end of March or something like that. So that's going to be available for.
That should be.
So tell me about this. I also see it's not OHH, but there's also another.
That's
charity.
Right. Yeah. So what I've done with Pumpkin Digger is. Our motto, if you will, is give to grow.
Okay.
And the premise behind that is as you give more, you help other people grow, who can then in turn give, who can then in turn grow.
Yeah.
And it's just that cycle of developing relationships, developing people, providing assistance in whatever form or fashion that you can, helps other people. And inherently, you're trying to embrace the good that is in everyone.
Yeah.
And so, it started with OHH specifically to help OHH and the families that are in the oil field. Goodnight Combine, I shifted, and we're supporting 4-H.
Okay.
The 4-H, National 4-H Council. Great, and it's something I was a part of growing up. And we're providing assistance to them. And then with V is for Veterans, we are supporting Special Operations Warrior Foundation. And that group it's an amazing organization. It's a national organization. And what they do is they support families of special ops soldiers who have been wounded, died, something like that in the line of duty. and the big portion of what they do is supplying education for those kids. So it doesn't matter how old the kids are whenever whenever the warrior passed away, it is that they're going to provide assistance through and through.
What you're doing is just unbelievable. I think we need more Kyles in this world. I really do. I think what you're doing, your moral compass, your ethics, as a father, as an author, and just giving back to our industry, to other industries, to other families, and all that, it's phenomenal. I just want to tell you that.
I appreciate that.
And I never give compliments, ever.
Well,
no, all the time. No, but I'm serious, man. So let me see. What's next? I mean,
okay. So you see the ducks, the ducks that are right in front of those. That's the next thing. So I'm a member, and you and I were talking about this before, but I'm a member of the Methodist Church downtown.
Okay.
First United Methodist, great church, and the children's program there is phenomenal.
Okay.
The guy who runs it, Mark Burrows, we call him Mr. Mark. His idol is Mr. Fred Rogers.
Okay.
And the guy is just absolutely amazing. When my daughter had surgery when she was 4, I'll never forget it. We were scheduled to go in at 7 o'clock. He was there at 6 o'clock in the morning with a prayer cross, just waiting for us. And my daughter was scared out of her mind, and she saw him, and it was like everything was going to be okay. And the guy's incredible. He is, but the team he leads as well is equally phenomenal. And we're just so fortunate to be a part of the church. And anyway, one of the amazing things that they're doing now, they're just starting it. It's called the Kindness Project.
Okay.
The Kindness Project is literally just about passing out kindness. Okay. And it's teaching kids that it doesn't matter. The same thing I was talking about before. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you believe.
I agree with that.
Kindness is something that's easily spread, easily given, easily taken. And so what Mark came up with was these kindness ducks. Okay, the kindness duck is, and y'all can't see this because we don't have video, but we get a picture of it. Yeah, so we have a little yellow rubber duck, a couple inches tall, and it has the word kindness on the front. And what we're going to do, and what the children are going to do, are leave these in all kinds of locations, everywhere. We're going to start in Fort Worth, and we want it to go like viral. Super viral. So we need everyone's help on this.
Send some our way, man.
Yeah.
Send some our way.
So those are actually for you and Evelyn. And you're going to take those. And here's the deal. What will you do with these?
Okay.
Is you take pictures wherever you leave them. You can take them with them, or you can just take the picture of the duck wherever it is, and you tag it #kindnessduck.
Okay.
Okay. And we're just going to spread it, and we're going to see how far they go. And we're ordering them by the thousands.
That's so awesome.
Getting a bunch of men. So where does Punk and Duke come up?
And they're cute. And they're extremely cute.
Yeah, I mean, look, those are rubber duck.
Pump the brakes. They're mini ducks. Okay, they're not regular rubber. Those are mini ducks. All right, they're pretty cute. So I think the kids are going to have a good time doing this. It's be a good message to spread.
Yeah. So how am I involved in this? One, just because I'm a dad.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I mean, come on. It's like you said, they're kind of ducks. You don't see those every day.
No, absolutely not.
I actually, in addition to Vias for Veteran coming out in March, there's another book that I have that has been another work in progress for a while, but it's called His Kind of Kind.
Okay.
It's a religious book. It's about Jesus. Yeah. And the whole point is teaching children about Jesus, the kindness from Jesus.
I like that.
Okay, so it's different stories and does have some scripture and things like that, but it doesn't matter what faith or religion you are. The whole point is how people teach kindness. What are the different types of kindness? And this is particularly about the kindness of Jesus, especially towards others, towards children, and things like that.
I think that's huge though, because I mean, we were talking before about being parents. You don't teach them how to fail. You don't teach them how to be kind. You just share. That's not so. I think I like how you're bringing up these simple important topics that you take for granted. Oh, they're a good kid, they're a nice kid, but you're not actually teaching how to be kind. Lending a hand, someone's hurt, picking them up, saying a compliment to someone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so that could change someone's day.
Yeah, anything and everything that you can to be kind. And anyway, so really excited about that. But what I'm gonna do with the book is 100% of the proceeds, of me as the author, the proceeds is going to go to the Kindness Project.
I like that.
Okay, so what they're going to do is they are having the kids, in addition to the ducks, they are performing these kindness projects that people can sponsor. And, you know, you donate money to the Kindness Project. And at the end, when they gather all the money that they have, and they're going to distribute it towards different projects that the kids choose.
Okay.
And it can be anything. It's stuff for the community, stuff for the state, national, whatever it is. The kids get to decide what they're going to support. They have ownership of it, and so I mean, it's a fantastic idea, and so obviously people can donate to support the projects. But then I'm releasing this book solely for the benefit of the Kindness Project and trying to raise some money for it.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I've been to the website to look at the books, and there's a way that you buy a book and it match, or you donate to something to OHH and all that stuff, and like you can buy all 3 books. You can buy that. I just think it's. I think what you're doing is great, man. I really do. I think you're spreading something, which is great. Not COVID. You're spreading kindness. All right, which is great. I think, and honestly, so have you done like any like readings and stuff like that? I mean, is that in the future? I mean,
I think it is. Yeah,
I think there's some momentum with this.
Yeah, no, I think there is too. I've had several of the stores that sell the books. They've asked about doing readings and stuff like that. I've been contacted by a couple of libraries.
That's awesome.
That would want to do it, and it's the weirdest feeling in the world. Like, I'm a nerdy engineer. I mean, I got 4 monitors at my desk, right? Like, this doesn't really get any nerdier.
Is that irky that one of them's out? Does that annoy you? Probably.
It does a little bit. The fact that it's black, it bothers me that it's on and there's nothing on it. I think that's the problem.
Yes.
It's just the nerd in me, right?
I get it.
But, you know, going back to the kids, virtual school, it's been difficult in some aspects, but it's also been really cool because we've been able to peek in on the kids talking during a normal school day. And the weirdest thing I've ever felt was my daughter was talking about writing stories.
All right.
And she's always been a big writer and like wanting to put on plays and stuff like that. Performing. Right? She's a performer. Yeah. So, and she's talking about writing, and this is after I'd released the 2 oilfield books. And she goes, I think I'm gonna be okay at writing. My dad's an author. I'm like, no. I'm
a nerd, not an author. I'm a nerd.
No. But you know, it's.
I didn't know you started this in the beginning of COVID. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah. So it's literally, when I say it's blown up.
So we're right out of the gate with this thing.
It hasn't. Yeah. Well, I haven't done anything. As weird as it is to say, like, it's literally just been social media, word of mouth, and me talking to some networking, talking to people, and it's just taken off. But it's so cool to get pictures like the ones that you sent of Evelyn, and pictures of grandparents reading the book to their grandkids, and I just get random pictures through email every once in a while, and it's just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
It's such a cool thing too. Like when Evelyn has it, I'm like, oh no, don't bend the pages. Like stop. Like don't. It's such a cool book, you know, because it's first off, I'm sitting here with the author, but it's just it's pertinent, it's relevant, it's teaching the children, and also the charity side of it. That's just we can go on about that, but I just think it's so great that you're bringing what we do as an industry into people's homes, and we're sharing that with families, and able to get people around the table, families around the table, and have conversations. I really do love what you're doing, man.
Well, I surely appreciate that.
What can listeners out there right now do to find out where to get these books, or just to learn more about them, or take a look at them?
Yeah, so website is going to be your biggest, the best spot to get information. It's www.punkindooger, which is PUNKINDOOGER.
And I think if you go to the Around the Rotary Instagram page,
right.
and you go to the thing, I think I linked where you can buy the books.
Yeah,
too.
so as I say, you be on your Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me, Kyle Wagner. I'm going to have some stuff on there, and there'll be links and whatnot. That'll be the biggest thing. Quick fix, if you're just buying books and not donating or anything like that, Amazon, there's going to be several stores that are starting to pick them up.
Oh, really?
And yeah. So a lot of local stores throughout Texas, some of the smaller ones.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, it's been really interesting ride.
You should talk to the actually. I might do that for you. Talk to the Museum of Natural Science in Houston, because there's that fourth floor energy thing that it's very interactive. I think that'd be a great addition in the gift shop.
That'd be awesome. We actually Petroleum Museum in Midland. They sell them.
Really?
Yeah. We got them there. So.
Man, I think honestly, I didn't know that this is not even a year-old project for you. I think I feel like there's a lot of momentum behind this, and I think once more people find out about these books, and it's just going to keep getting out there. I think anyone, kids age 12 and below are going to be attracted to these books and reading the books and all that stuff. I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been so cool just listening to people like the books just in general. And they like the illustrations, they like the stories and whatnot, but then they also, even more so, are blown away by the fact of being able to get back.
Yeah.
This whole pandemic, it's amazing how everyone has banded together, even in times where sometimes we didn't band together. That humanity in its simplest cause is still looking out for each other.
Yeah.
And
it's easy not to believe that through media and social media, mainstream media. It's easy to not believe that, but I agree with you. I think we are banded together.
Yeah. So it's I'm just happy that people like it. I'm happy people happy people support each other, and my wife says it every day to her kids. Above all else, be kind. It's hard to knock that.
I love that message. And so everyone, this is Kyle Wagner. Do you have anything else you'd like to bring up? I think we're coming up an hour and 10 minutes here. You got anything?
I didn't even realize it's been an hour. It's kind of like the pandemic here, right? We're just sitting here.
Well, this is more fun than the pandemic, I feel like. All right, thanks, Kyle. I had everything great to say about you, but that comment, this is like the pandemic. This is just like no. This is fun. This is fun.
This is where the nerd part of me gets in there, because I'm like I have an excuse. Like no, I'm just talking about how time flies. See, so, I'm an engineer. I can find a way around it.
Man, again, this is Kyle Wagner, who's a engineer, father, nerd, author, self-proclaimed nerd. I'm not calling you that.
That's it's a term of endearment.
But honestly, I love your story, and I love just kind of your moral compass. The fact that you're able to create such awesome books that for the agricultural community, for veterans, for the oil field community, and also to everyone with the hashtag kindness ducks. But I think what you're doing and the message that you have, and I'm really glad that you decided that we carved out time to sit down and talk, because I've really enjoyed this. I'd love to follow up with you again, maybe in a couple months, to talk about,
Absolutely,
I guess, the success of this and the success of the Kindness Ducks. But I really appreciate what you're doing, man. And I'm glad to hear your story. I'm taking a lot from this story, and I love the books. And I think everyone out there should check out these books. They make great gifts. It's great gifts for others, people expecting children, great gifts for your kids, people with kids, and I think it's a great cause, and it supports the oil field industry. And also check out the other books, because they help out other industries as well. And again, man, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Well, I appreciate you having me on very much. It's been a blast.
Everyone.
Pass the kindness. That's right.
It's not that hard.
No,
not that hard.
Really isn't. And it doesn't even matter how you pass the kindness.
Yeah,
just as long as you're passing something.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Speaking of happy hour, right?
Not COVID. All right, but Kyle, I appreciate it, man, and I'll let you get back to work. And thank you for taking the time to do this. And, and obviously, we're going to link everything on our Instagram, the Around the Rotary Instagram page, and also on LinkedIn too when we release this episode. But I enjoyed it, man. I really did.
Likewise, look forward to doing it again.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you soon.